Well, the West is weighing into Yemen's ongoing unrest with deadly force. Officials in the troubled country say US drone strikes have killed over 100 people, including civilians, in the past 2 weeks. Now the UK is preparing attack helicopters and commando squads for possible action in Yemen. RT's Laura Emmett has more on this from London.
They are becoming more and more involved, whilst saying all the time, we don't want to get any more involved in the conflict in Yemen, any more involved in Libya than we can help it, any more involved in the Middle East as a region as a whole. Apaches are attack helicopters. We've seen them in general use in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and of course most recently in Libya, where their involvement was seen as a marked escalation in the involvement of UK and French NATO troops. They're very low flying, so the likelihood of casualties is much increased by their presence there, and it does certainly look like an escalation of that involvement. Again, as we've said so many times about Libya, the legality of this is extremely unclear. We are seeing US drone attacks, increasing numbers of US drone attacks in Yemen, and the reasoning for that is that Al-Qaeda, according to US forces, is taking advantage of what's going on there. They're moving into this power vacuum which has been created since President Saleh left and went to Saudi Arabia for medical treatment, moving into that, upping the activity, taking advantage of general civil unrest to grab more support, more power and more territory. So that's the reason for the US upping those drone attacks. That's how it's justifying it. But of course that power vacuum works both ways. Interestingly, the US forces, the military forces, used to cooperate with President Saleh on who to attack and when, intelligence, those kinds of territorial issues. But now the US can easily say that there's no authorities with whom to cooperate. The government is essentially not in operation anymore. So if they wanted to, one would have thought that they could just go ahead and attack whoever they like. And of course we're now seeing President Obama okay the use of CIA drones. Now CIA drones will have a much wider remit, a much broader selection of targets that they can aim at. We've also heard reports from a deputy provincial governor in Yemen saying that 130 people have been killed in drone attacks just in the last month, and that many of them were what appear to be innocent civilians. And then of course the last thing is this secret CIA base for drones that we hear is being built in the Persian Gulf region. We're getting reports of that all the time. And that is in case the Yemeni government falls to Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda no longer permits these drone attacks in the country. They need a base from which to fly those. So really a very much more involved in terms of both the US and the UK.